All right, good afternoon, race fans. This is Campbell Woods with our recap from yesterday's racing here at Marist University. We were super lucky yesterday to have a home race, which was the first time since 2019 that we've gotten an actual 2K race here at home in the spring. So that was really exciting. We had Fairfield University's team come up from Fairfield, Connecticut to join us for the morning. And so we're going to do a quick race recap, and then we'll talk about what's coming next. We pulled this race together in part because the race that we did last year at this time was down in Pelham at Iona's race course on the lagoon, and that race was pushed back an extra week this year. The racing in the lagoon can only take place during a certain window with the tides, and so Iona was unable to make that race run at their usual date this year because of the tide times. And that was a great event that we ran last year. Fairfield was there, Iona was there, Colgate came, and a bunch of other kind of metro area teams from the New York City region. There's, over the course of my time at Marist, we've had a different kind of range of events. There was a period that we had a good double duel going each year between Marist and Colgate and Ithaca and Hamilton. And that race ran for probably about 4 or 5 years, and then things got really busy for all those different teams, and the D3s kind of started doing their own thing, and for whatever reason that race kind of fell apart over the years. And so we ended up, we did not want to push our race back to next week. Because next week is our weekend off before we get ready to go to the Dad Vail, and so we didn't really want a full event that weekend, and so we pushed our race up to this weekend, and we asked Fairfield and some other teams if they were able to come up and join us. Colgate was originally scheduled to join us, but they had some scheduling issues with their athletes. So a bummer not to have them here. Always has been a very hard-fought rivalry between Marist and Colgate, and some very, very close racing between those two crews. So we'll be looking forward to seeing them at the Dad Vail. So it's just us in Fairfield. Want to thank Fairfield's coach Steve for coming up to the event. He's new there at Fairfield, and for those of you who don't know, in my distant past, I coached at Fairfield for 5 years with their varsity men, and so was very cool for me to kind of have just the two teams that I have coached at the collegiate level racing against each other yesterday. It was kind of a special moment to have everybody kind of racing there together here at Marist. Also cool to see Fairfield really taking big steps this year and moving up. There's always been a moderate rivalry there between Marist and Fairfield, just being kind of the two larger teams that are here in the Northeast and part of the MAC conference. And so there are some other MAC schools. Obviously, there's been a rivalry with Jacksonville within the MAC, and back when they were running the men's MAC championship every year, that was definitely a hard-fought race between Marist and Jacksonville. But Fairfield was the major team that was like here in our region that we would see during the regular season, and so cool to see them moving up. Fairfield has grown in the last couple of years and has put on some speed, especially this spring. They've had some really good racing going. They had a great petite final race at the Connect Cup a couple weeks ago. There was a real shootout between all those schools that were there, and they came out on top of that and won the petite final. So cool to see that team moving up in the world. It was really cool to have those two MAC schools here on campus. The varsity boat won their race. It was a fairly easy win, just from the size of the margin. Fairfield, I think, put in a really good first 500 and were able to hang, and the water was pretty good for that first race. We did move racing up. The weather was kind of marginal. It was pretty typical Hudson Valley morning. It was beautiful in the morning, and then right around 10 o'clock, the wind started to pipe up, and it was supposed to come out of the east, and it didn't. It came out of the south. And so, and then right around that time, we had the tide shifting. And so where the wind and tide had been together for a while, it started to be wind pushing up against the tide. And we were able to push our races up 15 minutes earlier. So that helped us to get all of our races in. The varsities definitely had the better water of the morning. It was a headwind, head current, so some longer races. So Marist won. We were in a time of 6:38, I believe, and Fairfield was about 20 seconds back. And then the 2V was definitely a harder fought race. The Fairfield 2V had some bite, some scrappiness. So that was really cool to see. Those guys really give a better push. Our 2V ultimately was able to win that race by about 10 seconds. But they were not able to open that gap really until the last maybe 500 meters of the race. And before that, Fairfield was behind it, but they were definitely connected and like nipping at our heels. So a good, hard-fought race there. The 3V and 4V and 5V from Marist all faced off against the 3V from Fairfield. Marist was able to come out on top there again. The Marist 3V and the Marist 4V both were ahead. And then the Fairfield third varsity was able to beat our 5V, which was a little bit of a compilation of various people. We had a couple of coxswains in there and really just trying to get that boat to get a row. And similar race, I think the Fairfield crew put in some good work in the first 500 and then weren't able to hold it together as well later on in the race. And it's worth noting that by the varsity got the best water. The second varsity, the water was okay, but not good. And then by the time the third varsities raced, it was truly awful. So that was definitely more of a survival race. And then afterwards, we went out and we did a couple 500s with all the boats. So we were able to race 8 boats across. That was a ton of fun. And, thanks to Fairfield for being willing to go out and do a little bit more. By the time we were doing those, the water was diabolical. Truly awful conditions. Classic Hudson Valley, big white caps on the water and big waves rolling in over the gunnels and just, kind of disaster rowing. So, but we did 2x500 with all 8 8s across, and that was a lot of fun. Just kind of cool to see. And we did that just for fun with the two crews. So huge thanks to Fairfield for coming out. And really thanks to everyone who took part in organizing our race yesterday. And we also ran, after our racing, we had our senior day celebrations with the 10 members of our class of 2026. And so I wanted to give a huge shout out to that class, and then also their parents and the other members of our parents crew who put on, we had a great grill meal afterwards for all the athletes and parents, and there was a little recognition ceremony for the parents and families and the senior athletes for the class of 2026. So that was the first time we'd done that in a while. We haven't had a home race in a long time, and we've often been focused in other areas, but it was really nice to be able to give that class some recognition. And we're going to be working in the future, I think, to try to have some sort of a senior day celebration, even if we don't have a formal home race. Yesterday's conditions did not do a lot to alleviate our feelings about racing at home here in Poughkeepsie, but nevertheless, it was cool to be here, and definitely cool for the team and the coaches to not have to hop on a bus to get home, which is rare for us here. So one more time, big thank you to Fairfield for coming. That was cool. Definitely cool to have some MAC rivals together. Cool for me to have, what I look at as kind of my two teams racing together, and really cool for our seniors and their families and our parents to have an opportunity to get a home race with everybody here on campus, and also celebrate our senior class of 2026. The next thing on our calendar is our championship at the Vail Regatta, which is not next weekend, but the weekend after. And we'll be putting out a little bit more in-depth video about that, but the team moved up this week in our national ranking to 22nd. That was really cool to see. It's definitely been cool. The ranking process, I think, really has energized us a little bit this year. The guys have really looked at those as a way to push off of teams. And so, thanks to the IRCA for putting those together, and the coaches involved with that. It does make a difference, I think, to these teams. It helps light some fires and create some competition and rivalry. And so it was really fun for us to be able to look at those each week and feel like the athletes were being recognized for their efforts, but also to see, who's ahead of us, who behind us is an immediate threat, and to really be able to push off of one another in terms of the competitors in this league. It should be noted that the competition in the Northeast has been absolutely fierce at our level this year. The competition on the West Coast has been equally fierce, and the competition in Florida has also been fierce. And all three of those groups are going to be present at the Vail next week. There have been many times in the past that, with all the posturing and game playing, I have often kind of thought or even advocated publicly for everyone to just race together and let it all, we'll just all be at the same race, and we'll settle who's fast and who isn't all on one start line on one weekend, and not have there be, any kind of intrigue or mystery to the qualification process for the IRA. And for better or worse, we're going to get our way this year. Almost everyone who is in our speed range or higher is going to be at the Vail this year. There are going to be at least 18 varsity eights representing schools from all around the Northeast. So there are going to be Philly area and Vail schools there. There are going to be schools like Marist and MIT and Hobart, who were the major competitors at the NIRC regatta in past years. There are going to be schools from Florida and down south like FIT and Jacksonville and Stetson. who formerly were represented at the Sierra Regatta. And for the first time this year, we are also adding 3 of the schools from the West Coast Conference, Gonzaga and Santa Clara and University of San Diego, who have all left their conference in hopes of getting a more competitive situation here at the Dad Vail. And so the result is going to be an extremely deep field filled with teams that are all very capable and who are very, very close in speed. And so we are simultaneously super excited for the Dad Vail, but also we knew at the beginning of this season that our whole season was going to kind of come down to that one big race. And for sure, that's what's going to happen next weekend, or not next weekend, but the weekend after. So it's exciting. It's also a little bit stressful and terrifying, especially for the coaches, I think. But I know our athletes are really excited for that race. We are looking forward to any number of phenomenal matchups. We do not yet have the heats or the starting order or the rankings or anything for that regatta. And so I'll come at you with a video later on kind of detailing how we see that weekend going down for us. But in the meantime, that's what we are going to be training for the next 2 weeks. Certainly the perspective of the coaches right now is that we believe our varsity and our second varsity have had phenomenal seasons and are both working really hard and doing great work. And we think we are capable of going to that race and having some pretty good success. And so I think there's 1 or 2 teams there that are maybe out of our speed range in terms of being faster than us. But everybody else, I think, is going to be really tight competition. And so, we've been telling our athletes not to sleep on any of the teams that are showing up to the Dad Vail. And I think that it's going to be some pretty incredible racing. I think that the heats will be competitive. I think that the semifinals are going to be absolute insanity. And the finals will as well. And so a big shout out to everyone who helped us out yesterday with our racing. Big shout out to our current crews and what they've done this regular season. I think it's been an incredible year already, and we're hoping to deliver on the promise of our regular season at the Dad Vail in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, we'll be working very hard on putting that together and continuing to develop and bring our boats to their best possible peak at that event. Thanks again, parents, and also thanks to the many Marist administrators and media team who showed up for racing yesterday. Rowing obviously doesn't always get a ton of love in the media area, and so it was awesome to have that crew down there, and also to see some of our partners on campus and some of the other student athletes and people who stopped by to watch us race. We'll be looking forward to the Dad Vail, and in the meantime, we hope everyone has a great week, and go Red Foxes.